Welcome back to Across the Board with Ian the Colonel here on Hawk Radio, hawkradio.org. When you talk about the greatest soul musicians, R&B, hip-hop, there are, great R&B artists, there are great soul artists, great funk artists. And then there are some who are great at all of those things.
Right.
And bring them all. The guy we're on the line with right now, I think, has got to be one of those top artists, in my opinion, of all time.
Absolutely he is.
Everything he puts out is great. Musiq Soulchild's on the line with us right now. Musiq, how you doing today, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing just fine. How about yourself?
Great, lovely, man. Everything is good today. And I'll tell you, it's nice to talk to another guy from the Mid-Atlantic like we are. I heard an interview with you. I think you were on the Steve Harvey show, actually, and you said something about getting up with people. Whenever I say that to somebody, if I say, hey, I want to get up with you later, they're like, what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about, so I appreciate that. It's nice to talk to my friends. You're a local guy, kind of. You're from Philly. How did growing up in the Mid-Atlantic, and being from Philly, a place with such rich musical heritage, how did that affect you in your inspiration?
I don't know. It's interesting because I wasn't really immediately influenced by the sound of Philadelphia. At least not consciously. I'll say that. I wasn't consciously influenced by the sound of Philadelphia. Everything was just by default because I grew up in Philly. So the music that soundtrack your environment, your surroundings, wherever you was raised, you're going to automatically be influenced by that. And it wasn't until I started becoming successful with my music and moving around to different parts of the country and even the world, that I started to realize that the sound of Philadelphia was something to be appreciated, revered, held in high regard, and then I started from that perspective, I started recognizing how much of my approach to music was influenced by the sound of Philadelphia. If that answers your question
it does.
At all.
Yeah, and how does that affect how you choose who you collab with? Is that mostly the record label that picks that for you? I noticed, you've collabed with Ice Cube, Indie.RE, but you've also collabed with other Philly artists like The Roots. Did you choose, Black Thought and those guys, or was that, somebody else chose that for you?
They all happen in different ways. The whole Roots thing, I guess you could say that was a mutual sort of thing. Whereas though the Ice Cube thing, my homie Warren Campbell, he's a producer, songwriter, musician, out in LA, and he has a studio, and I did a lot of work with him. And he's also real cool with Ice Cube. Mm-hmm. So Cube wanted somebody to sing on that record, and Warren was like, well, I can get music to sing on it, and he was like, yo, if you can get music on it, that's dope. And so that's how that happened. The whole Indie.RE thing, we were just good friends, and it was kind of like inevitable. She was working on a song, and one thing just led to another. But all the other collaborations, they just happen as they do. Yes, sometimes the label get involved with it, but more than not, it's a collective effort between either myself and my manager, or myself and the label, or myself and that artist themselves.
You've been influenced by so many people, especially the icons I've seen you list before, include Ray Charles, Billie Holiday, James Brown, and one of my personal favorites, Stevie Wonder. What Stevie Wonder song probably had the most impact for you in your life?
In my life,
yeah,
it would have to be the song "Vision."
Good choice. Great.
Yeah, from his album Inner Vision.
Mm-hmm.
I think that song spoke to me so much because, first of all, it wasn't a ballad, which was so refreshing for me. I know that might sound a little weird coming from a person whose career has been built on the backs of ballads. But I don't know. It was so transcendent to me because it rose above anything that was of any immediate concern to the average person. Whereas though, it was pondering concepts that I think a lot of people do, but they don't like to talk about it because, in fear of being looked at as being too deep or first of all, whatever that means. But I mean, I can go on and on about that song, how much that song has affected me, and broadened my perspective and interpretation of life. You know, because it just introduced so many different ways of seeing things. You know, which songs like that and how I was affected by a song like that and other songs is what ultimately contributes to me being the type of person that I am. You know, how I choose to
Very
be,
true.
you know, a cool disposition, you know, when it comes to dealing with people and how I choose to go about what I do in my business life.
That's a good point.
You know, I don't get into all of the craziness. No offense to anybody else, but I know what I'm here to do, to use my gift to hopefully people, and you know, if only just entertain other people. You know, I just want to know that when I leave this world, I did something good. I was a valid contributor to humanity.
Yeah.
I know it just got really, really deep, but that's what a song like that does for me. My bad.
That's what we like to hear. I
Awesome.
mean, yeah, we were trying to, you know, let people know who you are, you know, behind everything, you know, so not just the normal answers to stuff. Across the board with Ian the Colonel here with Musiq Soulchild. The new album is MusiqInTheMagiq. It's already out right now. Go out and get it. You can get it on CD, digital download. And the new single that's out right now with Swiss Beats is Anything. Let's talk about your writing style. Now, you know, I've heard it said before that it takes you 25 years or however long, you know, 17 years, whatever, to write a first album for most musical acts. And then maybe 18 months before you have to write the next one or you have to get it out, you know, for your record label. For you originally wrote songs just because you loved writing songs and paid for your own, you know, studio time for that first album. And then the second album, you knew you were making it for a record label. A lot of people would hear the music. How did that change your writing style? And by the way, everything you put out is gold to me, by the way. I mean, everything is perfect. And Don't Change, one of my past girlfriends, that was our song. I mean, that was the song right there. I'll tell you, the relationship's not together anymore, but it wasn't because of the song. But, you know, so how, you know, knowing that your music affects people like that, you know, it's part of their lives, they identify their relationships by that. You know, how did your writing style change?
Well, for one, the first album, I was just doing songs because I was just doing songs. And that was it. I mean, that's pretty much where the title of the album comes from. I just wanted to sing because I didn't really have a theme behind. First of all, I didn't really necessarily intend for those songs to be what ultimately became my first album. I was just a quick song. The second album was everybody at the label were sold those songs and how much the success of those songs, that album, that they wanted to recreate it, basically.
Okay.
And that's where Just Listen came from. Even then, like, I was actually planning on going in a slightly different direction because of all the music that I knew that I was influenced by. So to go and basically work on music that I didn't feel accurately how can I say it? Accurately represented what I came to do musically.
Right.
I was like, you know, y'all just want me to do this again because it worked one time. And, you know, I get it business-wise. It makes sense. You know, what works, you know, keep doing it. You know, and if it ain't broke, don't mess with it. I get that. The only thing about that is what worked wasn't the plan, you know? So that created a little conflict within me. However, at the same time, I was making progress, you know, and I'm all about progress. And there wasn't really anyone else out there doing what I was doing. So I figured, you know, why make things harder for myself? Why not take advantage of something that's working, you know? So now for me, well, with that said, you know, ongoing, you know, with the next album is just me being compliant with requests that are consistently made, as far as what I should do, to contribute to the Musiq Soulchild brand. And I do my best to, you know, implement as much authenticity as possible, you know, even though it may not necessarily be what I intended to put out. However, before it comes out, I'm going to make sure that I'm not just doing something that was just, that somebody asked me to do.
Right.
Like, if I'm going to do it, then I'm going to make sure, just out of my concern, out of my respect for you guys, the audience, the listeners, the people that support me, out of respect for y'all, I don't want to just say, well, let me just give them something. It's like, no, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to make sure that I give my 100%.
Yeah, believe that's appreciated.
Even you're welcome, man. Even though it's something that I've written and produced, or had nothing to do with the writing or the music, if I'm going to perform it, if I'm going to present it to you guys and ask you guys to invest in it, I'm not just going to give y'all half-assed work. Like, that's just not fair. That's just not good business.
Yeah, so many people do it.
But with that said, personally, if it was up to me, I'll put an album out every 6 months, because that's how much music that I have to offer. You know. However, the music industry, record labels, they have their own scheduling. For whatever reason, and I respect it. Which is why the time, they take the time that they take. And there's a lot of other contributing factors. Working schedules with the studios, working schedules with the producers. That's why you don't really hear a lot of cameos, because it's really challenging to get up with artists. And then there's the whole political aspect of it, of it benefiting the other party involved. And,
right.
Their schedules. If the song becomes a hit, that song becoming a single, and that interfering with their plans of what they want their single to be. Well, maybe not so much always them, the artists, but the label's plan for that artist. So there's a lot of stuff that go on behind the scenes, and it's not always negative. There's just a lot of conflict of interest.
Yeah, business.
Which is why it's not always as easy as, oh, I want to work with that person, and then make it happen, and it becomes a success. It's a lot of contributing things. But all that has an effect on my music and how I choose to write, because I'm always thinking about it being received. Well, at least basically, I'm always thinking about who is receiving it, and I like to always leave myself open enough,
right,
where I can allow outside influences to help enhance or just make whatever the whole Musiq Soulchild brand is what it is. Because I can't come up with everything. I don't know everything, and it's always good to have an open ear to outside influences, because they can come up with something that I probably couldn't have thought of at the time, or even if ever.
Yeah, never too old to learn something new.
When it's a collective effort. No, you don't always get to do what you want to do. Things don't always go how you would like for it to go. However, ultimately, if it accomplishes the same goal, then it's like, what's the problem? And it helps. It helps to be humble. It helps to be, to kind of make it more about something else other than yourself.
Yeah, no doubt.
And just to throw back a little bit to what I said previous about, how music affects me. That dictates how I carry on and how I write music and how I perform, because I'm always thinking about being a valid contributor to the legacy of music, rather than I'm this dude with this ability and I can sing and I'm better than everybody, and I want y'all to think that I'm so dope. And it's like, it's not that deep for me,
Yeah, and that's appreciated. And like I said, that comes through in your music. And, again, you started introducing yourself when you were younger as music. And I think maybe that put a good amount of pressure on you to live up to that name. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I regret that name, because I do my best to not regret anything.
Right.
Because I think it's a smack in the face to God. I think that you should embrace the things that you may not necessarily like so much about your life, or decisions that you may have made about your life that you don't really feel too comfortable about, and embrace them and utilize them as a point of reference to make better decisions. Saying that to say, having the name music is definitely a lot of pressure. But what I did long ago is I just relieved myself of that pressure. because in no way, in no stretch of the imagination am I implying or professing or even in trying to say in anything remotely close to me being the embodiment of music at all, you know. And a lot of people kind of took it like music. What he trying to say? It's like, no, chill, homie. It ain't near that. It ain't even that deep. Calm down.
Right, which is why you changed it to the Q and everything. Yeah.
Well, I used the Q because I couldn't patent it, you know, as a name, as a trademark name, because it's a universal word, you know.
Right.
So I had to switch it up a little bit, you know. But music and Soulchild, they're actually two concepts, you know, that I put together for the sake of, you know, not confusing people, because I had already established a local reputation with the name Musiq, but Soulchild is the name that I actually thought of and wanted to, you know, present myself as, you know, my stage name, you know, how we artists do, you know, I want my stage name to be this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
And I just put the two together. And there was a little controversy about me putting more emphasis on the music part in the past, and the reason why I did that is because I didn't feel like I was living up to, as I mentioned before, I was living up to accurately the concept of what I intended to do musically.
Okay.
I said, you know what? Let me try to help people understand the different concepts between these two names, because right now I feel like I'm living up to the general concept of what the name Musiq, you know, is being used for, but not so much with the whole Soulchild concept was intended for.
Okay.
That again, you know, against my better judgment, that actually caused, you know, even more confusion. So then when I came back with Love and Music, I said, you know what? Let me help people understand. Well, let me just make it clear to people. The Musiq Soulchild that you knew, that I came out as, I'm still the same person. It's still Musiq Soulchild. It's a little too elaborate and complicated to get into, you know, the meanings behind the names. This is too much right now. It's so unnecessary at this moment. So, for the sake of conversation and argument, actually, the name is Musiq Soulchild. That's all you need to know right now. Until I'm in a position where I can help you to understand better, you know, the intention behind, you know, these two names. Even talking about it right now sounds complicated, but.
So there may possibly be a change in the future. You're saying you may go back to your given name, or
yeah, because I'm still not living up to what the intended concept was behind these names, you know. And as a creative person, you know, I kind of take that seriously because, you know, there's a reason for everything. You know, we artists, there's a method to our formula,
right.
You know, and not everybody is naturally given to understanding what it is, and I get that. You know, it's not everybody's responsibility to want to figure out what, you know, the next artist is trying to do. You know, people didn't understand the meaning behind Prince referring to himself as the artist formerly known as until people started getting the information of, you know, the motivation behind that. You know, the whole drama between him and his record label and things like that.
Right.
And it's still to this day, people still don't know why he was referred to as the artist formerly known as.
It's a statement.
You know, Prince. You know, a lot of people still don't know about that, but that's not you guys' responsibility.
Right.
You know, at all. You know, it's like a chef. It's his responsibility to know what goes into the food. You're not going to serve somebody some food and then give them a pop quiz on, you know, what is it and what was the seasonings used and what was the process used to cook that meat. It's like, that's not their responsibility. They didn't go to culinary school to know all of that. All they know is, I'm hungry.
Right.
This is one of the best places in town.
Hook me up with some food.
Hook me up with some food.
Right.
You know, and so that same, you know, thought process is kind of sort of what could be applied to myself and my name and the meanings behind them. I just feel like it would go over so much better if I had the creative leverage to help it make sense. Otherwise, it's just words that could be taken any kind of way. You know, people have just left to their own interpretation of things.
Right.
But you know what? Let me just go ahead and clear the air. Musiq Soulchild is still the same Musiq Soulchild. And until I can creatively present to you the differences for you to be able to, you know, notice it for yourself and be like, oh, now I know what he's talking about, you know?
Right.
So then I'm not even going to confuse you like that. I'm going to just give you what you're asking for, you know?
Right. This is Across the Board with the Colonel and E. And Musiq Soulchild on the line with us right now. We're talking a little bit of in-depth about the industry and what your influences are. If you knew you were about to die, to pass away in the next 5 to 10 minutes, what one song... No, I'm not trying to bring it morbid here, but if you knew you only had 5 to 10 minutes left, what one song would you want to hear or sing going out?
Wow.
See, I wasn't trying to get morbid on you there.
I can honestly say I've never been asked not only that question, but anything that's even in the same category as
Right.
that question.
And we're deep on here Across the Board.
Oh, that's cool. I really don't know.
Would it be something by Stevie or Signed, Sealed, Delivered?
I highly doubt that it would be
Yeah, I'm totally kidding.
unless I'm talking to God or somebody.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It could be anything.
I think that's kind of where he was going with that.
Yeah, that's where I was. That's where I was going with that. Yeah.
Wow. It would probably be I don't know, man. It would probably be It would probably be Donny Hathaway's "Someday We'll All Be Free" off of the Extension of a Man album.
Now, that's a great answer. I like
Real
that.
good answer.
Now, would you hear it or would you want to sing it?
I would want to hear it.
Okay.
If I'm finna check out, you know, the last thing I'm gonna be thinking about is singing.
Right.
Good point.
That's a really good.
Very good point.
All right.
I love to sing. I thank God for it every moment in my life.
It's a gift.
However, yeah, I think I would kind of want to just chill, just let it happen.
Right. Right. And
It would be cool if that song was on, you know.
yeah, that's a great choice. Last question: if you could leave again, you know, we try to ask the questions you haven't heard before. So, if you could leave a musical or an inspirational time capsule, we'll say, for either your family, you know, younger generations of your family, your kids, you know, grandkids, whatever, or younger musicians. Okay, so you've been inspired by, you know, James Brown and people, you know, years ahead of you.
Right.
If you could leave 3 things, 3 of memorabilia, it could be 3 albums, could be whatever, that you want to pass down to the younger generation in your family or younger musicians, what would you leave? You could leave 3 things.
Oh, wow. Does it have to be all music?
No, it
Not
could be
at all.
anything. Could be anything from your life, you know, anything that just, what 3 things would kind of mean a lot to you that you could pass down to someone else? That's a good one. You can take your time and think about it.
Well, since you said the Donny Hathaway thing, I would actually leave that out.
Okay?
That was a great album, actually. But anybody that's interested in pursuing a life in music should be exposed to that. Even if you don't even listen to that kind of music, you should be exposed to that.
Absolutely.
Say a piano,
Okay?
because not only as a means to make music and, you know, and ultimately make money off of, a piano is a great introduction to music itself, to sound, you know, and that sound itself is so precise.
Yeah. It translates
You know,
to other
that
music.
instrument is so like it's so identifiable, and it's so you can't mistake that for anything else. Like when you play
No doubt.
a flute, that's what that sound that you're hearing. That is that register. That is that frequency.
Mhm.
That's what that instrument is playing. You know, and when you put a third and a fifth on there, you have a chord.
Right.
You know, that is, I think that, you know, and it's right in front of your face, so you can see your fingers, you can see what you're doing. You know, it's almost like another way to communicate, another way to write, you know, another way to speak, another way to, you know, express yourself, other than wearing clothes and your choice of food and things like that. It's another thing that you can use to define who you are.
Absolutely.
You know, the instrument itself doesn't define you, but how you can use that instrument can help to define. It could be another means of an identification. You know, so I would leave a piano, preferably tuned grand piano.
Oh yeah. You get one more. Any of your songs? Did you leave any of your songs for somebody to listen to, or?
So, the reason why I wouldn't leave any of my songs would be because that Donny Hathaway album and that piano is basically the nucleus of everything that I do.
No doubt. Got that.
So you're pretty much getting it. You're just getting the concentrated version of it.
Yeah, those were the instruments used to make your, absolutely.
Right, and ultimately, by listening to that album and playing that instrument, you'll basically be on the same. You'll basically be driving on the same lanes that I'm driving on right now.
Right.
You're doing it your own way, which is ultimately what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing what Donny is doing, but in my own way. You know, so you'll basically, in essence, will be listening to my music. It'll just be coming from you. You know, just
I like that.
To me, you're listening to Donny Hathaway's music. You're just hearing it coming from me. You know.
Damn, that's deep. I like that. I like that. You don't even have to give a third, man. Those two were good. Those are solid right there.
Hold on. Let me think about that third one.
Go ahead, man.
This is actually kind of fun. The third thing that I would leave.
Just think about what influenced you growing up. You know, it could be clothing, could be picture of a person.
I would leave the best recipe for a peach cobbler.
Ooh, now that's a good call.
That is a good call.
That's a damn good call right there.
That's what I would leave.
Yeah, that's nice.
But that also gives insight into you as well.
Yeah, because you spent a lot of time in Atlanta and the peach cobbler. Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, it's one of those things where it gives you an idea of who you are, what means so much to you, and it's more of just that feeling of home and comfort. And I think that kind of is, you know, it's a little bit of that comes through in your music as well.
Yeah,
that feeling that you get from a really good peach cobbler. You know, and there's other foods out there, you know, that can generate the same, if not better, even maybe. But the feeling that you get from that peach cobbler,
it's comfort.
You know, I would want you to be inspired to attempt to generate that same feeling through music.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's one of the best answers I've ever heard, man.
That's really good. I like that.
That's outstanding. Yeah. So you should get that together now, man. And just anybody says, "Hey, you know, how do I get to know you?" And you just hand them those three things and say, "Here you go. Here you go."
Yep, that's the way. A piano and the best recipe ever for peach cobbler.
Wait, do you know of this recipe? Like somebody in your family has it?
I'm gonna go find it.
Oh, okay. All right. You got to send that to us. Is what you got to do. I'll tell you that. I love peach cobbler, man. Come on. All right, so let's talk. The last thing we'll talk about here is the new album. Again, it's MusiqInTheMagiq. Came out May 3rd of this year. It's already out. The first single is Anything. You know, you're going out. People should see you. But why is this album so important?
Well, for one, I think that it's a representation of my credibility.
Okay.
And the reason why that's important is because the legacy of music that I'm constantly doing my best to contribute to and to be a valid contributor to is really not supported so much, you know, these days. And I'm not, you know, I don't feel no type of way about it. I mean, not negatively or heavily in that direction.
Right.
You know, it does bother me a little because I naturally would like for it to be more popular or more supported, but the reality of it is it just isn't, you know. However, the fact that I'm still credible enough where I can put a project out and people not only are being made aware of it, but they're actually asking for it. You know, I think that right there is a blessing. You know, so just generally speaking, I think that's the reason why this album is that important. But more so because, you know, it's helping me to discover myself musically. And it's helping me to recognize how people are entertained through music. You know, so instead of trying to force people to like something, I've learned through the years to incorporate things that people like about music into my music.
So you're getting better with each album.
Yeah. And hopefully in the future, in the near future, preferably, I'll be able to do that much more.
Right.
You know, what I mean by that is I'll be able to have a genre anonymous project.
Okay.
You know, where I can put out, you know, a pop song, where I can put out a rap song, where I can put out, I don't know, a jazz song, where I can put out an inspirational song, where I can put out a Caribbean reggae soca song.
I'd love to hear that album.
And it can be on the same album, you know?
Yeah.
And not doing it for cliche purposes or any gimmickry or anything like that, but doing it because I'm actually, as if I was, you know, a dancehall artist, or as if I was, you know, a punk rock artist.
Yeah.
Or if I was, you know, I don't know, an electronic, you know, house garage, you know, drum and bass, what is it, trip hop artist.
Right.
You know?
Right. So it's genuine no matter what.
Yeah. You know, it'll just be me contributing to that legacy of music, you know, rather than, you know, trying to say I could do all of this stuff, you know, and you listen to it, it's like, yeah, you're doing it, but you could have just stuck to one thing, you know. But I'm actually doing these things where I could have a song on the pop charts, I can have a song on the country charts, I can have a song on, you know, the rock charts, and they will be good. They will be something that people that listen to that genre of music would appreciate, right, because it sounds right, you know.
That's a great thing to aspire to.
Because that's the amount of that's my affinity for music. That's how far it goes. I personally have never been genre specific. Unfortunately, because, you know, how the game is set up, you know, it helps to be, because that's the only way that people can identify with what you're doing, you know.
Right.
Because if you do anything else, then, you know, you get labeled as being left way out there, crazy, tripping, dude, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, because you want to do something to show your appreciation for music as a whole, but yet people love to label you, throw you into one just simple category.
Right.
And if you
Right.
transcend categories, then people can't. They feel like they can't identify with that as much, and I find that to be saddening.
Right, but you're truly a musician. You're not
Right.
an R&B singer. You are a musician.
Thank you. Thank you for not. Thank you for allowing me to not have to say that.
Right.
Your music says it.
Because I always find myself saying, like, I'm not an R&B singer. Yes, I do make R&B music. I do sing R&B songs.
Yeah, but you're an artist.
That's not the extent to, you know, who I am.
Right.
You know, if anything, I would say that if you need anything, if you need a label, if you need a handle, I would say I would much rather be considered a soul singer, because you can be soulful with anything.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
You know, so I would much rather be referred to, if I were to be referred to as anything, as a soul singer, because that way that's mutable to anything. I can be soulful making classical music. I can sit here, you know, and write a piece of music, and I can be so soulful with it. I know it may be opera, but I can be soulful.
Right. It's passion. It's from the heart.
Exactly.
I like it.
Look at it twisted. Them opera singers be killing it.
Yeah, they're talented. You know, exactly. I don't listen to country music, but they're talented people. It's just not what vibes inside of me.
Country music is like one chromosome away from R&B music. I don't think people recognize that.
The only difference is a steel guitar, probably.
Yeah.
There's one chromosome away.
Yeah, they both evolved from R&B. You know, back when it was
absolutely
actually rhythm and blues, no doubt. Absolutely. With music, I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. MusiqInTheMagiq is a new album. Go get it. And my question was, why is it important? It's important because you put it out, man. I'm telling you, we're huge fans. Everything you put out.
I said so.
What's that?
It's important because I said so.
Damn right. It's but everything you put out, it's just, I feel like R&B and hip hop are kind of lax, these past maybe 10 years or so. You know what I mean? There haven't been a lot of good artists out there that are singing about deep things. They're just kind of singing about, oh, the record label says you should sing about this. You know what I mean? But you're putting out that solid music that everybody wants to listen to. I mean, just like old school, and I love it. It's quality and it's consistent, man. So we appreciate it. MusiqInTheMagiq. It's out there right now. We'll be back in a few minutes. This has been Cross the Board with Ian the Colonel on Hawk Radio.
HawkRadio.org.